All right, my friends, welcome to episode 1 of Work in Process, a Reisinger Build podcast. If you don't know me, my name is Matt Reisinger. I'm a builder here in Austin, Texas. We're coming to you from the Reisinger Build Studios here in Austin. And first, I want to introduce you to my business partner, Tim Hill. Tim and I have been building houses a long time, and Tim's really the managing partner of Reisinger Build, which is our Austin custom building and remodeling firm. And Tim, will you introduce Chelsea and Daniel as well?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Yes, Daniel Glauser, our executive project manager, manages all of our projects under construction. Chelsea Scharbach, our director of thank you, our director of architecture, manages all of our what I would call pipeline stream, our work that's coming to us.
Yep.
And together as a team, we manage collectively about 10 people that put all of our projects together. Keep track of them, manage them, and try to do a great job for our clients.
Yeah, we got a killer team here in Austin. Tim, tell us, and for the audience members here, what's this podcast going to be about? In fact, this is kind of a little odd because we've actually already recorded quite a few content before we did this episode 1, so you guys kind of got a feel for it. And by the way, you're not going to see me on this podcast a lot. This really isn't my podcast. This is our leadership team's podcast, so I'll be a guest occasionally. But Tim, what can people expect on the podcast?
Well, as the name implies, process, work in process, implying that every great custom home building experience deserves a well thought out process. And I think we've done a great job of creating and developing, and we continue to develop, a great process for the client, the design professionals to develop a project and then build a project. And at the end of that, the lesson learned is that the more time we spend on process, the more time we spend communicating with each other and planning the project, the higher chances of success that project has for the entire team.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Chelsea, why don't you answer for these guys listening? Like, who's the intended audience? Who, as the three of you are podcasting here in the studio, who are you expecting to be the main kind of listening audience?
Yeah, I think this could be viewed as like kind of a subset of some of the other podcasts that you're a part of, where instead of speaking to a national audience, we're really speaking to our local Austin community, people that are interested in home building, specifically people who might want to build a home with us and get a glimpse into what our process looks like and what our personalities look like.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's a chance for potential clients to really get to know who we are and how we operate and what they can expect if they engage with us.
And like all our content, we have a specific audience. In fact, almost everything I've done when I've done anything for a video or a podcast, I think about Matt Reisinger 10 years ago is who I'm talking to. Like, what would I want to know about whatever the topic was? But these days, of course, our audience has grown a ton, and we've got all kinds of people watching Build Show content. So I think it's going to be really interesting to have the three of you talk on this topic, really intended for potential clients, future clients, specifically here in Austin, talking about what we do. But I think you guys are going to end up having a bunch of other folks, whether it's people in St. Louis or Seattle or wherever who are thinking about building. Also, builders around the country are going to also listen. So it's going to be really fun to see where you guys go with this podcast over time. I think it'd be really helpful for people listening to get a feel for who the three of you are, then what your backgrounds are.
Yeah, sure.
So Tim, why don't you start? I've known you for 20 years now. We met right after I moved to Austin, Texas in 2005. But your home building history goes a lot further back than 20 years, doesn't it?
It does. As you well know, I started building in Austin around 1980 after having gone to school at UT in mechanical engineering, graduating and working for engineering consulting firm, and then subsequently an architect here in town. And because of that architect relationship, the natural progression was for me to go to work for a home builder. And then from a home builder, I went out of business for myself. So from there, it's just a long-standing series of building and remodeling homes in Austin for great clients and great architects.
What year did you found Tim Hill Builder, Inc.? That's who you were when I met you.
It is. The first company was Hill Construction, Inc.
Okay.
Subsequently, I took on a partner. We changed the name to Tim Hill Builder. So
Gotcha.
But that's
That was in the mid-'80s?
In the weeds.
Late 80s?
Mid-'80s, yes.
Mid-'80s. God,
That's right.
You've been building a long time, man. That's awesome.
Right. That's awesome.
Was that Mac Holder you worked for here in Austin?
It was.
Yeah.
He's AIA fellow.
I moved here in 05, long after Mac was off the scene, but I still heard about him all the time. He was a legend in the Austin building community and architecture world.
What year did you and Matt get together and begin to work?
We started, I knew Tim through the Homebuilder Association when I moved here. I joined right away.
2005.
And we were super active in our Custom Builders Council. And then Tim and I and a couple other folks, Ray Tonjes and Joel Katz and a few others started the local chapter of CBUSA.
The OGs.
The OGs, exactly. I was privileged to be in the OGs. I felt like Tim and those guys were my older brothers. Yeah. Tim's about 10 years older than I am, and Ray's 15 years older, and Jill's 20 years older, but they treated me like their younger brother. They were super kind to me. So we were friends for a long time. I think it was 2007 we started the purchasing group.
Right.
I saw him all the time. And funny story about Tim, we were really good friends through the recession. And one time I ran into him at
Lowe's.
At Lowe's in like 2010 or 2011.
That's fantastic.
And we were both kind of one-man shows at that time, both just trying to ride out a terrible recession. And I was kind of growing the remodeling side. And then neither of us had anything new to build at that time. And I think I had a new pipeline project that I was like, gosh, I don't know if I can manage this. And I ran into Tim and I was like, Tim, I know this is crazy, but would you go to lunch and could we talk about whether you'd be ever interested in building with me? And Tim had just finished like a $20 million super trick custom house and didn't have another house in the pipeline during the recession. And was like, yeah, actually, that sounds kind of fun. And so we've been working together ever since.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
So it's been almost 15 years now, right, Tim?
That's right.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chelsea, why don't you go next? Tell us your background.
Well, I have a degree in architecture, and I moved to Austin in 2012.
OSU grad.
Yeah, go Pokes. And worked for an architect here, actually a husband and wife, who did a little bit of everything. I was previously at a different firm where I came from in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I think I worked on like one house and decided that houses were what I really wanted to work on, which is funny because in school, I always really thought I would maybe I really was interested in working on like skyscrapers or something, like something big.
Interesting.
And realized quickly that like I just love details, and they were super flexible with me, and I kind of got out and started doing my own thing while I was working for them part-time. And then I think I connected with you at a Joe Stebrick conference, little mini conference here in Austin. And I don't know if I told you this or not. I think at the time I was working with a builder who was friends with Luke Mesger.
Oh, is that right?
Who I think organized it, maybe.
Yeah, I think Luke did organize that.
That's right, he did.
And he mentioned that he was going, and I was like, "Hey, you think I could like get in on that?" He was like, said it was just for builders, and I was like, "This is the perfect networking tool to like connect with all of the good builders in Austin."
That's awesome. The ones who care about building
Was
science.
this the one that was at the Pickle Research Campus?
No,
No.
It's not that weird place next to Walmart. What's that? Like
Just
right
like
next
a
to the
weird
ice rink.
little-
Yeah, the
Yeah.
red.
The
It was
old
like a little
former
conference
mall.
room back there.
Yeah.
I can't think of that.
And it was really funny because not only like I was like, oh my gosh, Joe Stebrick, he's like, I could never met him
He's a
before. And
legend in
like,
our industry,
It's
if
like
you
you
don't
read
know
about
him.
him in textbooks. And his daughter and I had like, I like started Instagram messaging her and like kind of became friends with her. And during that conference, like she texted her dad and was like, "Hey, there's a young like woman architect in your class." And just like is obviously
You're
me.
the only woman there.
And he came over and talked to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so starstruck!" And then we ended up getting
hilarious.
to talk, and I
That's
think
so
that was
cool.
kind of the start.
That was the start.
Of me
Yeah.
talking to you guys.
His
and wanting
daughter
to
is
work
Building
here.
Science Fight Club, by the way, if
Yeah,
you don't
she's
know.
awesome.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's now a professor in architecture school in Virginia,
Tech.
right?
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really glad to have you. A little fun fact about Chelsea. She may not know that I was going to say this, but she actually is a pretty accomplished welder,
No.
having grown up
Metal fabricator.
welding
It's
and
ugly.
fabricating with your dad, right?
Yeah, my dad is a welder and fabricator, and has an engineering background, and he does a lot of just interesting stuff. And in college and high school, there's a lot of times I would like work in his shop welding. He would like pay me and my sister per
so
part.
awesome.
So we would just go out
Oh,
there
that's
and just
awesome.
weld, like get a
So
jig set
awesome.
up and just try to get through as many as we could.
Yes,
That's cool.
You are a pretty rare architect, my friend, with a real hands-on craftsman bent.
I like that.
A real nerdery in building science. We're sure glad to have you on the team.
Thanks.
That's for sure. Daniel Glauser,
Yeah.
my good buddy that I met at the gym of all places.
I know. Can you believe that?
Do you remember when we first met, Daniel?
So at the gym, I think you actually met my wife first.
I did, yes.
And she said, "Hey, this guy, this is a builder, just joined the gym." And then she mentioned your name. I was like, "I know who exactly that is." Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, we worked out together at some point.
We worked out a bunch at Zach's little garage gym deal.
Yeah,
And I
every Friday
remember you
morning.
and Nikki, I got at least 6 inches on both of you probably. And both of you are such competitors that I remember I was new into CrossFit. I'm not still very strong, but I remember both these guys putting up like at least 50% more weight than me and doing the workout in half the time and me being like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't think I'm going to do very well on this deal. These guys are crushing me.
It was fun because it was a pretty competitive small group. I mean,
Yeah.
there was only 4 or 5 of us.
And your
there.
wife was the only female there.
Yeah.
And she would regularly beat the big dudes, Adam and Max in the workout time and
That's
putting
awesome.
up big weights. She's awesome.
Yeah, it was a fun experience though too because we got to spend a lot of time together and talk shop.
Yes.
Not working together at
That's
that
right.
point, so
Yeah.
just kind of bouncing ideas off each other and what's going on in each other's businesses at the time, which
Yeah.
was pretty valuable to me.
For sure. And how many years you been building now, Daniel?
So officially, I started in the construction industry. I mean, growing up, I've had a variety of jobs, but my first real construction job was in 2002. So a little over 20 years.
Yep.
And I started off, a friend of mine had just finished business school and had an investor and bought some properties that he was intending to flip and needed some help doing that. So I needed a job and started working with him. And it was really great because we self-performed everything. And so I got tons of hands-on experience
This
doing...
was that out-of-town job, right?
No, this was here.
Oh, this was here,
Yeah,
okay.
this was here over in Allendale.
Okay.
He bought 4 properties all next to each other on one
Gotcha.
road. And I spent several years just working on those projects, doing everything from, crawling under a house and fixing plumbing to all the way to the finished paint and everything in between. So I really, in that short amount of time, got a fantastic education. And then we kind of branched out from that and took on other projects, small renovations and things like that. And there was 3 of us in the company at the time. And the way that we operated, it was not enough work for the 3 of us. So it was a good time for me to step away and do my own thing. At the time, my wife and I just bought this 100-year-old deconstruct house that on the east side. So I spent a couple of years deconstructing that house and building a new house. And that was really when I discovered building science and building better. And from that, green building as well, right? But we finished that in like 2009. And I was like, well, actually, right before the crash happened, my plan was to build green spec homes. And then the recession hit, no banks were lending any builders any money. So I immediately pivoted and just went into renovations, started off doing kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, smaller things. And then slowly over the course of the next 10 years, grew that to a business where I was doing architecturally designed whole house renovations and new construction. More on the luxury scale, but still implementing all of the building science stuff that I'd learned. And then somewhere in that, you and I met and became friends. And then 2020, right? It was like 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Yeah.
So same thing. You approached
Yep.
me. And you're like, "Hey, crazy idea! Like,
What do you think about this?
Yeah, what do you think about coming to work for me?" And I was like, "Well, I got my own thing going on." And then the world turned upside down, and my wife, who is also somewhat of a business owner, we had the idea that if one of us had a sort of steady salary, maybe that would be good. So, and you were, to your credit, it was like really fantastic the way you approached me because you were like, You said, hey, I've got this big project I'd like you to do. Come on board. If you want to go back
Little
and
did he know.
Yeah.
if you want to go back and do your own thing afterwards, like I understand, no big deal. And so there was a lot of pressure taken off, and I'd never really worked on a team like this before, so I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But I also felt like I wanted professionally to grow myself in that way. And then, of course, once I started here, it was like, this is where I want to be.
You got a fabulous team.
Yeah,
I think it's so interesting that all of us have owned a business before. All of us are a bit entrepreneurial at heart, but we also really like working in a team. And I think back to when I was building houses by myself and the amount of stress I had, and when I was trying to be good at everything and I wasn't good at everything. I was good at a few things. And so now that we've got a bigger team, I think the four of us really love coming to work. We really enjoy our clients, our projects, the architects we get to work with, the level of work and detail we get to do. We're in a fabulous spot. And so I'm excited for you guys to join this team. Remember, I'm only here on a guest basis. This is really
When you're invited.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This is really the Tim and Daniel and Chelsea show. And like I said, these guys have almost a full season recorded already of our brand new work in process, a Reisinger Build podcast. I hope that you guys will consider hitting that subscribe button. I understand if you need to listen to one or two more before you hit subscribe, but you can find us on all the major podcast platforms. You can also watch this if you want to see our shiny faces on thebuildshow.com, where we've got a bigger podcast platform than ever with several fantastic podcasts. The OG Build Show podcast that I've hosted for a couple years now. We've got the Unbuild It podcast, and Brent Hall's team up in Fort Worth, they're recording Passion for Craft. We've got the Building Consensus podcast. We'd love to have you go check out thebuildshow.com. And with that being said, from the Reisinger Build Studios here in Austin, Texas, this is the building process. I just messed it up. This is the
A
Work in process.
Work in Process, a Reisinger Build podcast.